purchased AR-15, a lethal military-style weapon often used in mass shootings, including at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012, when 26 lives were brutally taken. Parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, entire communities shattered and traumatized, lives changed forever. These weapons are legal in Rhode Island, and we are here to change that. Weapons of war have no place in our communities. I'm going to read part of the victim impact statement from Sam Fuentes, a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas survivor, a high school senior, whose story is captured in a short documentary film called Death by Numbers. I was still a child when I saw you standing in the window, peering into my Holocaust studies class, holding your AR-15 that had swastikas ironically scratched into it. I was still a child when I saw you kill 2 of my friends. You shot me in my leg, and if you looked me in the face, you would see scars from hard shrapnel that was latched into it. As a society, we failed Sam, all of her friends and family, and all of the victims and survivors of gun violence, the over 100 loved ones that are taken every day in our country. It's our job to protect our citizens from gun violence. No other developed country lives this way. We're so grateful that Governor McKee is leading the way in this important effort, and we're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. And we know the majority of Rhode Islanders and our legislators agree. At the Coalition, we've been fighting for this since 2013, and over the years have not always had majority support. Representative Knight, and with the overwhelming support of the General Assembly, we are in a position to make Rhode Island safer. Governor McKee is a gun safety champion who was first to take the step to include the assault weapons ban in his budget. He knows there isn't any one solution to ending gun violence. There are many things we need to do in the fight for public safety. And thanks to him and all of you, we're confident we'll get it over the finish line. This seems so much is out of our hands. It's my pleasure to introduce Governor Dan McKee.
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here and talk about an important issue to all of us. I'm pleased to be here with our Lieutenant Governor, our Secretary of State, our Treasurer, who have stood with me before, and I've stood with them asking the same things. I know there's representation from the Attorney General's office here as well. But for these things to happen, you need leadership in the General Assembly. So I give certainly particular shout out to Representative Knight, along with Chairman DePalma, but also to your colleagues that are standing here as well, with our senators and our reps that are really moving in the right direction here. So let's give them the encouragement. So I think that we all can list examples that we never want to see in our state, and certainly we are impacted by events that happen in other states, like Parkland High School or Aurora, Colorado, or the Pulse nightclub, or the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, the San Bernardino holiday party, the Sutherland Springs church services, Sandy Hook. The list continues and goes on, and as Melissa said, look, we know there's not one issue that is going to protect 100%, but each time that we add to the list, and that's another thank you to our General Assembly members, and along with the coalition against gun violence that's here today, and the Moms Demand Action Every Town. With them, with you, a great deal has happened in this General Assembly since I've been governor, because I know I've signed multiple bills. So again, thank you to the leadership that's coming from our Senate, from our House, and responding the way that has happened over the last few years. Today, we talk about another step, right? that we do everything we can to protect everyone that's in the state, but in particular our young people in the state who can't really defend themselves if they find themselves in a position where assault weapons could play a role in changing their lives, in changing their families' lives, in changing their communities' lives. The state of Rhode Island, mourns in a way that is very emotional, right? When these things happen. So we're here today to talk about a state ban of certain semi-automatic shotguns, rifles, pistols that are considered assault weapons. And when we say a ban, we mean banning the purchase and the sale of assault weapons in Rhode Island, banning the manufacturing of assault weapons in Rhode Island, and banning the possession of assault weapons in Rhode Island. And there's common sense approaches on this. There's exceptions for law enforcement and the military as part of their occupational duties. We know that, and I've said this multiple times, that since I've been governor and I came in a lot of unrest, that it was time to bring our public safety and our communities together, and our communities and our public safety together, and we can't ignore that. We rely on them so heavily to create safety in our communities, and as a former mayor, I know I relied on my local police to make sure that, you are a Rhode Islander and you're ready and already to register it within the year. Reducing the number of high-capacity, rapid-fire weapons in circulation in Rhode Island is a common sense and impactful way to protect the health and safety of our residents. And over a period of time, when the ban is in place and purchases and manufacturing can no longer happen, you will find ourselves gradually getting to more and more of a safer spot. Now, for some, there's been a history to certainly my support for this issue, right? I've brought to my desk as early as signature in 2021. We did it again in 2022. Other things were happening, though, very positive things were happening, and I don't want to have us lose the fact that, the General Assembly wasn't listening to the people in front of me. They were, and I think that they need to be congratulated again. But again in 23, not only the Speaker, but the Senate President said I need to be more vocal, so in 24 I did it, and this year at the State of the State I got very vocal and made sure that... So, I am confident with the leadership that's in front of me, the leadership that's sitting in front of me, that as we're diligent and continue to really aggressively state why this is important to us and why this is important to the General Assembly members and their constituents, that I think this is the year that it'll happen. And then ask for the people that are listening in or that are in our own social circles. I'm asking the public to show your support for a ban. So this common sense legislation can become law, and we can all be a little safer. And as I mentioned, we know the majority of the people in the state of Rhode Island support this. It's up to loud and clear and strong over the next few weeks. And I really encourage the General Assembly to make this one of the first issues that they deal with this year. That would be great to have a signing before you, and not have the signing, after session is over, which I'm sure we will gather together, but might not create a signature within the next 45 days. That would be a pretty good thing, right? So, and with that, thank you all for being here. Again, thank you for your leadership, the leadership that I stand with here. And with that, I'd like to have our Lieutenant Governor come in front of us. Sabina, thank you so much for your leadership.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor McKee, for your leadership in this issue. You have been committed to making sure that we pass common sense gun laws here in the state of Rhode Island. And you have signed already several pieces of legislation. I'm looking forward for you to sign this other one. I want to thank the advocates, because without your work and your support and showing up in this building all the time, Moms Demands, the Coalition Against Gun Violence, it wouldn't happen without you. So thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for speaking out and educating all of us here in this building about these important issues. And finally, support of this legislation. It's so great to have all of the general officers in support of this piece of legislation, starting with the governor, secretary of state, the treasurer, the attorney general, but most importantly, the members of the General Assembly who are making this a priority and making this possible. So thank you, Senator DePalma, Rep. Knight, for your leadership in ensuring that with this legislation gets introduced. Just know that you're gonna continue to have the support of all of us here in this building to ensure that this legislation is passed. Let's make sure that we do everything we can to remove assault weapons from our communities, because we deserve to live in a community that is free. Pass it over to Secretary Amore.
Good afternoon. I'll reiterate and thank the sponsors, the advocates, the members of the General Assembly who have been in this fight for a long time. I have been in this fight for 12 plus years now. I was elected a month before Sandy Hook. I was sworn in just after Sandy Hook. My first bill was an assault weapons ban bill, and it has been frustrating over the course of the years, and I acknowledge the great progress we have made. But this is a legislative process. That's unconstitutional. So we fight, and we push, and we advocate, and we convince, and we cajole, and we make sure we do this the right way. And if it's challenged in court, we fight, and we push back, and we accept. And let's talk about that. Because this nation has banned assault weapons once before, in the recent past. And there were no court challenges to that. Well, there were challenges. The courts upheld that ban. There's precedent here. And let's talk about this nation banning automatic weapons in the early 1930s because of what I have talked about time and time again, and that's mitigation. And that's what everybody here is talking about, mitigation, making sure that we prevent these tragedies or the scale of these tragedies. So I'm here until this happens. I want to thank the governor for highlighting this in your budget. That's important. And again, let's keep pushing, because that's what we do as Americans in this democracy. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, the Secretary, excuse me, the General Treasurer. You just switched, James Diosa.
You actually gave me a promotion. It's a big deal. But good afternoon. I stand in solidarity today with the governor, the lieutenant governor, my good friend, the Secretary of State, and all the legislative leaders, but more importantly, with the coalitions in front of me today, to say thank you to our governor for making this a priority in his budget, and for his bold action in actually including it in his proposed budget. But I also want to give a strong shout out, a very, very clear shout out to Representative Knight and Chairman DePalma, because they are tireless advocates. And as I mentioned, we've been in this fight for very long, and I remember working alongside many of you during my time as mayor, and it was difficult meeting with families whose lives were irrevocably altered by gun violence. And I listened to, and I remember after all of these mass shooting incidents, having long discussions with my police chief and understanding that 1 minute with having a perpetrator with this type of assault gun meant a lot of casualties, and the possibilities of mitigating that was difficult at the time. And so these were very difficult conversations. I know, Mayor, your time as mayor, you had those conversations with your police chief, but one life lost is too many, and we can stop that by passing this bill. And the human toll on gun violence is staggering, and extends well beyond emotional scars. It carries an economic burden as well. As treasurer, my office helps Rhode Islanders through the Crime Victims Compensation Program, providing up to $25,000 to help cover medical expenses, lost wages, or burial costs for those taken too soon. In the past 2 years, Treasury has distributed over $250,000 to victims of homicide and assault, many of whom were victims of gun violence. As a state, we have to continue with the steady drumbeat of progress in making Rhode Island a safer place. We have outlawed ghost guns, bump stocks, and large capacity magazines. It is now time to get rid of assault-style weapons off our streets. While this measure alone will not solve the gun violence epidemic, it will help in large and in a meaningful step toward ensuring our kids don't grow up in a school where active shooter drills are as routine as recess and where gun crime barely registers the news anymore. This bill is common sense, period. So let's make it happen. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce one of my good friends, Representative Jason Knight.
Good afternoon, everybody. I don't have a lot to add. We're here again. This bill's been in for the last few years, really since the Secretary of State's time, and even before that. It's time to get it done. And one thing that you hear about, particularly all the time, every day these days, is politics. It's politics, it's politics, it's politics. But I want to introduce a second word into the conversation, and really it's the first word, is to govern. We were all elected to govern, and the number one job of elected officials in the United States of America is to provide for public safety. Whatever else we are here to do, that's job one. We are here to protect. And one way to protect is to get rid of these weapons and to get them off our streets now. And we are going to do that. We're going to push and shove and advocate and legislate and get it done, hopefully this year. I have all the confidence in the world that with the governor's assistance at highlighting the issue by putting it into the budget, with a change in the way the wind is blowing through the General Assembly that I think we can all sense this year, I believe that this is the year. 3 out of 4 Rhode Islanders want this to happen because they understand that safer streets means not having ARs and AK-style weapons on those streets. This is fundamental, and we're going to make it happen. And we're going to make it happen with your help and the help of everyone up here, and we're going to do it as a team. And that's really the beauty of Rhode Island. And with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Chairman DePalma, who's bringing the bill in the Senate this year.
Thank you, Rep. Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Treasurer, Attorney General's office. It's unfortunate we need to be here, but it's important that we are. Categorically important that we are. I've been up here now in my 17th year, and you folks have been working on this for a long time. A long time. The time to pass the assault weapons ban bill is categorically this year. Categorically this year is the year it needs to pass. Rhode Island can be the 10th. There are 9 states plus the District of Columbia. We could be number 11, the 10th state to pass this bill. We have Connecticut to our left. We have Massachusetts to our north. Both have passed this bill. We can do it. We've heard what the Secretary of State had said with regards to, and the governor, this ban was in place a few decades ago for a while. It passed constitutional muster. I'm an engineer. I'm going to get into a few facts and data in a minute. You wouldn't expect me to do that otherwise. But at the end of the day, we can do this, and it will stand in Rhode Island. I do want to recognize my Senate colleagues here, and I think as I saw them come in, I counted them. I believe there are 9. By the way, of the 38 senators, I have 24 signatures on the bill. The bill gets... Our Senate Majority Leader, Val Lawson. Val, thank you for being here. We can thank all of them, but let's hold our applause to the end so we can get them all together. So Senator Lawson, Senator Valverde, Senator Coleman, Senator Loria, Senator Acosta, Senator DeMario, Senator Ujafusa, Senator Felag, Senator, I was going to miss one, and Senator Mack. Thank you all for being here. Clearly, the number of folks that are here clearly show the support, but we have overwhelmingly support in the Senate. This bill comes to the floor, it passes. Will there be discussion? There categorically will. Will there be debate and dialogue between now and this bill passing? Absolutely. The work that you folks are doing, have done, needs to continue. It categorically needs to continue. As was said before, whether it's ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, safe storage, ammunition sales over 21, red flag law. As the governor indicated, all those have been done over the last N number of years. A couple of those were done because of what happened in Uvalde. I remember sitting in that chamber when Uvalde happened. It's categorically important that we do it now. The Senate President deserves a lot of thanks for his comments, and I'm sure you're all familiar with his comments. And basically what he said, he will closely review assault weapons legislation submitted in the 2025 session. Even though it may conflict with some of his thinking in the past, the Senate President has been very forthright and direct in making that statement. This is the year that we need to make this pass. Categorically the year, and I think we have the avenue to do that. And clearly, thank you for the governor as well for submitting the article in the budget. Before I finish, I talked a little bit about numbers and facts. I want to talk about one number and one set of facts, or an equation I'm going to give you. You can go home and calculate it when you get there. But when an assault weapon or large capacity magazine is used in a public mass shooting, 14 times as many people are injured and twice as many people are killed compared to a non-assault weapon style weapon. It's a numbers thing. It's the killing, the mass damage from an assault weapons ban is all driven by kinetic energy. And if you want to think about it, kinetic energy is 1/2 the mass times the velocity squared. The velocity out of a handgun is 1. The velocity out of a AR-15 is 3. When I square that, I get 1 in 9. 9 times more damage is going to happen. It's that simple. It is that simple. The time to stop this is now. We need your support. We need to do this, and we can't stop until we get it over the goal line in 2025. Thank you. And I'd like to bring up Mayor Tretter from Students Demand Every Town. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mia Tretta and I'm a sophomore at Brown University. When I was 15, I was a typical freshman in high school. I was worried about my Spanish grade, which was slowly going downhill, and who was going to ask me to the school dance. But on November 14th of 2019, an older student I had never met before entered my school with a gun in his backpack. I was talking to my friends when suddenly I heard a loud bang, followed by several more that knocked me to the ground. Confused and in a daze, I managed to get up, finding my campus quad, which had always been full with students, and laughter completely empty. Campus, up several flights of stairs to my Spanish classroom, and it wasn't until I was surrounded by other terrified classmates that I realized I had been shot. I was ambulanced to a nearby park and airlifted to the hospital with a .45 caliber bullet lodged in my stomach. Only after doctors had performed a life-saving surgery to remove it, I had learned that my best friend, Dominic Blackwell, was killed next to me. From that day on, gun safety had become incredibly important to me. And as a proud Californian, the gun laws, or lack thereof, in certain states were a significant factor in deciding where I wanted to go to college. And when I was choosing Brown, I was confident that Rhode Island's gun safety legislation. But when I learned Rhode Island had no assault weapons ban, I was shocked. Assault weapons are often the weapon of choice for mass and school shooters because they are designed to kill as many people as possible in as short a period of time. These weapons of war are built for mass destruction, not for hunting or sport, as so laughably often argued. 9 states in Washington, D.C. have already instituted a ban on assault weapons, and it's time for Rhode Island to follow in suit. When there was a federal ban in place between 1994 and 2004, research shows that mass shootings fatalities were 70% less. Even if that law only saved one life, isn't it worth it? If Rhode Island can be the leader in gun violence prevention movement, an assault weapon ban is an essential next step. Introducing this bill is the first step towards a safer Rhode Island, and we also must push it through committees, pass it through both chambers, and return it to Governor McKee's desk so he could sign it into law. So I come here not only as a student proudly attending a school in the beautiful state of Rhode Island, but also as someone who lost their best friend to gun violence, and as an authority on devastating effects of gun violence on the human body. I do not want this to happen to anyone else. Therefore, I beg you to pass an assault weapons ban. So let's protect Rhode Islanders together. Thank you so much.
Where do you want that, Travis? Stand in front.